This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is the tournament director of the U.S. National Indoor Tennis Championships, Peter Lebedevs. Beginning Saturday at the Racquet Club of Memphis, professional tennis returns to the city of Memphis. The 2014 U.S. National Indoor Championships has been a staple in the Bluff City since the event moved here from Salisbury, Maryland back in 1976. Past winners of this event reads like a tennis who's who, with such names as Borg, Connors, McEnroe, Agassi, and Sampras hoisting the championship trophy. Not to mention female stars like Venus Williams, Lindsay Davenport, and Maria Sharapova. Unfortunately, the times have changed and American tennis has suffered, and with it to a certain extent, so has this event. No longer is this a 500 series ATP stop. No longer do the women share the stage. And to top it off, there are less and less Americans in the top 100 in the world rankings. With that said, the event moves into a new phase, and that means new ways to generate a fan base. Today, tournament director Peter Lebedevs joins me to talk about the changes, the player field he's assembled, and thoughts on the future of the tournament. Next on Sports Files. Hey, Peter, great to have you on again. Great to be talking tennis again.
Great. Appreciate it.
Challenges this year in putting the field together. Anything different than your annual challenges that you have?
Not really. It's just making sure that we get the players that the people want to see. The players are very keen to come back. I mean, this year we have all of our finalists in the singles. They're loving to come back. And the Bryan brothers, they jumped on board real quick. So it's just making sure we get the right players that the fans want to see, and we'll have a good time. We can get some ranked players that nobody knows, but we want to get players like a Hewitt who's coming back and the Bryans who's coming back. You know, they're players that the fans want to see, and so that's our biggest goal, making sure that we put out there a fun time for everybody that people want to see.
And you get a nice mixture of names and then young players who are up and coming, and many over the years have made their mark right here in Memphis. So talk a little more specific about the players that we'll be seeing.
One of the guys, a Canadian guy, Pospisil, he's going to probably actually be our number 2 seed in here, but he's very under the radar by a lot of people. He's come up 100 spots in the ranking. He is, by the people that know tennis, he's the guy to look for and say, hey, this guy could be a top 10 or top 5 player, like we've had the last couple of years with Milos Raonic, who came from nowhere, or right. Gustavo Kuerten many years ago when he beat Agassi. Who was he? We don't know, but then he becomes number 1 in the world sort of thing. So Pospisil is probably our biggest guy that's the sleeper in there that nobody's heard of, that, oh, watch out, he's the guy.
The venue hasn't changed, and it's always been loved by players. Do you still get that feeling when you try to lure these players here to Memphis that they still enjoy it, but it may be travel issues or other issues involved that don't bring them ultimately to Memphis? I'm talking about the top 10 guys that are not here this year. How hard is it to try to get those guys in when you know they love this venue?
They love Memphis. The schedule is what dictates it most for these guys. You know, when they do well in Australia, it's hard for them, say, to come this quick off that event and how tough it is in there. So that's a bit of a challenge. But overall, this year, like for instance, Nishikori, he's coming back. One of the things that swayed him was the fact that Michael Chang is now his coach. And Michael knows, hey, he knows who all the people are in Memphis. He knows we have great facilities. He knows the fans are intelligent fans who respect it. And so, you know, that was one of the reasons that made it come back. So the people know about it in terms of how good it is and what we have to offer. You know, our stadium with being such an intimate atmosphere, 64 feet is the worst seat in our place. So the players actually really enjoy it. So it's more just a case of the schedule and what they've got going on. Davis Cup, you know, whether that's close to us or whether it's somewhere else. You know, Leighton's having to come all the way from France to get back here, but he's making that effort. Instead of staying in Europe, right. Leighton Hewitt said, hey, I want to come back to Memphis. I've had a great time and the people there are fantastic. So, you know, the players, some of those guys are coming back and making that deal.
Peter, as tournament director, do you find yourself having to reinvent yourself each and every year, add something new for the fans, that so it doesn't become stale, that there's something that they're excited about other than actual tennis?
No, we do. It's hard to watch tennis for 9 days straight. Even myself, it's just to sit there. So we've got to have these other things. We've got this year a stage. We're going to have some live music that's going to be in the hospitality village all the time. The West Can Centre has got a serving booth down there that has the Hawkeye technology. So we're going to find out who has the biggest serve in Memphis.
Nice.
And so that won't be debatable anymore. Plus, actually on the court, we've really got a cool and innovative idea. It's called the Svedka Party Deck. And what will happen is there, for your ticket price and a little bit more, you'll be able to sit right under the scoreboard and be watching the tennis without any interference from glass or noise reduction. So you'll have a few libations up there, and we'll have to see how the players like that. But it's going to be fantastic, kind of like the Phoenix Open on the 16th green right there. I'm not sure if we're quite that loud, so it should be a lot of fun. And they're always trying to do something as well with an exhibition. This year we're doing a celebrity exhibition, which will be a lot of fun. People have always talked to us, we've seen a lot of these players, let's do something different, and that's from the fans telling us. So we're bringing in Boris Kojo, TV and movie star, and he's actually a very good tennis player, played at VCU, and so he's real good. And we've got a local sports fanatic in Mark Goodfellow is going to be against him. And Mark is, people don't really realise it, he's actually won a national USTA title as a team in doubles. So he loves his tennis. And so getting him out there, and he's ready to play against Boris. So we're trying to add something that makes it a little more fun, not just tennis. If you don't like tennis, we've got some music. If you don't like that, we've got some great fun things up in the Svedka Party Deck you can watch and be hanging out with your friends a little more. So we got some things there, and every year that's what we're trying to increase for the fans what they can see out there.
I love the party deck. I know how tennis players are. This is going to be very interesting.
It will be after, I'm not going to tell the players about it on the front end, because if they're thinking about it, we could have issues. But afterwards, if they say anything, I'll have a little discussion with them, but they'll all be good about it.
You, myself, every single person that enjoys the game of tennis is wondering, where's the next Sampras? Where's the next Agassi? Where is a good young American tennis player? You have a few of those young tennis players that are on the rise that will be playing in this tournament. But first of all, tell me about them. And Peter, where do we stand in American tennis?
We've been spoiled, bottom line. Jack Sock, Ryan Harrison are just in their 20s. If you look at it, there's only 3 guys, I think, in the top 100 that are teenagers. We've been used to this 17-year-old coming up who, like a Sampras, winning the US Open at 19. Doesn't exist anymore.
Phenom,
right, exactly. Those things don't happen anymore. So Harrison and Sock are young, they're coming up, but we also have some other guys in the US. I mean, the kid that was Kozlov, who's runner-up at the Australian Open Juniors, he's trying to come into our qualifying. Then we have the Teofilo, the kid that won the Orange Bowl. 2 American kids that are on the way up, but it's going to take a little bit more time. I mean, Rafa was out there for 4 or 5 years before he came that good. Same with Djokovic. So, for us, the Americans, we've just been spoiled with some amazing players over the years. And it's just going to take a little bit of time. But we've got some guys that are coming up. And Harrison and Sock, these guys, I promise you, just as those guys are coming, they're getting better. And 2 or 3 years, you might see Ryan up there and Jack up there in the top 20. It's just got to give them a little bit more time. The game's getting older. It's like all sports now. It's about 23 when you start hitting your peak 24, which we're just not used to. That's changing.
I know you work your tail off, and you and your associates trying to put together the best field possible. I remember last year here on Sports Files, you told me that you were real close to getting Andy Murray.
Right.
And I know you've already had discussions, maybe not naming names, but with players that are ranked in the top 10, top 15, top 20 for next year and beyond. Is that correct?
For 2015, I met with an agent in London over there at the tournament, and another tournament myself. We're working together to try and get him to our event for 2015. He's somebody that the fans will love, character, and he's also really good with the people, so he's prepared to do some things. We're going to be working real hard on that right after this event. So we're always working ahead and trying to get that new fan excited about tennis, because we're going to bring somebody new and different.
No stones unturned with this guy. If you were a commissioner of the game of tennis for one day, what changes, if any, would you make to the sport?
I would probably try and make the players more accessible to the fans. That's one of the things. They kind of live in a bit of a bubble, like a lot of athletes. But tennis, because they're sort of independent contractors, it's a little harder. So I would get them more accessible to the fans, number one, so that people really get to see them more often. That would be the biggest thing. Then more people would know who these other guys are, instead of just the big couple of guys that you see playing on Sunday.
Peter, I'm sure you get plenty of feedback, probably emails, phone calls from tennis fans in the area that suggest things, very nicely suggest things. What do they say about the tennis tournament, and maybe a suggestion or two that they think moving forward?
They're always asking us to get players we haven't had. That's the biggest suggestion that they have. The rest of it is not so much actually on the tennis, because they know that our stands and our facility are fantastic. It's more just on the players that they're saying, try and get this player, try and get that player. And it's interesting. Obviously, there are the big names, but it's quite interesting. Sometimes we get some players that you haven't really heard of. I'm like, I wonder where that name came from. So it's more on the player field that they want to see those changes. Just like the exhibition this year, they said, let's have somebody different. Let's have a celebrity. So that's where we kind of went with that direction.
Is it easier for you that you're not dealing with you've done such a great job with the dual men and women, which we had for many years. We don't have that this year. Has it made it easier for you just dealing with one? Because I imagine it was crazy for all those years.
Oh, look, hey, you cut some things in half and it's a little easier. There's no doubt the ATP and WTA, you have to work with them together, both of those governing bodies. And that makes it, exactly, that makes it a little bit harder. But really, so we just work harder in other areas. That's why we've come up with a few new ideas. Without having the ladies here, the village this year will be twice the size and have more opportunities. So that was one of the things when we went forward with having the ladies just for last year, was allowing us to do these different things for the fans. So that was kind of a trade-off in that. But it's a little different. I won't say less work, but I'll say different work.
Quick thought on the corporate sponsor. Right now, you guys don't have that. I know you're working feverishly to try to find one. How pivotal is that, or can this tournament go on for many, many years without one?
Oh, it's pivotal to have the corporate support. There's no doubt about it. But as you can tell, we're already talking about 2015.
Right.
So we don't have an intention of not having professional tennis in Memphis anytime soon.
You still got plenty of support from the community and businesses within the community.
Yes, Memphis, the people, the fans, and the businesses, they like the event. They work with it. Everybody's looking. Every sporting event, every sporting entity is looking for that more corporate support, obviously.
Phone number to call, box office for tickets, the website. Tell everybody how they can get tickets.
Get tickets at 901-765-4401 or memphistennis.com. Those are the two places. And you can see some great things going on there, all the other special events, Ladies' Day as well, and the Pro-Am even. We're going to have some fun with the Pro-Am on Sunday night. So check out the website and get your tickets there. Also
great food always at the Racket Club of Memphis.
That's actually, this year we got a little bit of different. In the village this year, it's going to be Corky's and Simply Delicious are providing the food. So that's going to be a nice little bit of a change. Again, people wanting to see something different. And also this year, the beer is Michelob Ultra. So it's that's the sponsor instead of Corona this year. So it's kind of a little bit of a different one. But all of us thinking about our weight, and that Michelob Ultra is good.
Well, I am absolutely looking forward to it. I think it's one of the great sporting events every year in Memphis. Peter, you do a bang-up job. Thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it, Greg. Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's Peter Lebedevs. We'll take a short time out and come back with overtime right after this. Competition for all University of Memphis athletic programs took a major step up this season with the school's move from Conference USA to the newly formed American Athletic Conference. Men's basketball is in the midst of conference play, and they've won 7 of their first 10 league games, a very impressive 700 winning percentage. But we all remember Conference USA, where the Tigers went undefeated last season. The American is a far cry from the lack of competition CUSA provided on a game-to-game basis. And nobody is learning that better than the Memphis women, who are hanging around near the 500 mark while playing the likes of national powers Louisville, Rutgers, and the most dominant women's team in the nation, UConn. Coach Melissa McFerrin has battled depth issues and problems that come with a very inexperienced team. But one thing's for sure, there is plenty of fight in her young Tigers. Melissa, good to see you again. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Greg, happy to be here.
We appreciate it. You're a little bit past halfway point of the season. How would you grade out the team? What do you like about your team so far this season, and where do you need to work on?
I like it that we've grown. That's the one thing I really like about this team. For most of the year, we've been starting 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a senior. Right. So we had a lot of things to learn, had a couple tough lessons early, particularly at the Virgin Islands. But the thing that I've been impressed about this team is that we've continued to grow and mature and get better. And we've begun to feel pretty good about ourselves, even in the face of some losses that could be devastating in some ways, UConn or Louisville. But I feel like we've been very resilient. We understand where we are in this process. And largely, we've come to work every day, work meaning practice, to get better. And I think that's great for a young team to not get down on themselves.
It's not an easy combination when you have youth, a lack of depth, and you move into this American Conference where you have two teams that played in the national championship game last year in UConn and Louisville. Awfully tough to just dive right in there, but you've hung pretty tough.
It is difficult, and we knew that. I said it's a tough year to be young, but the great thing about it is that those young kids now, they're not watching it from the sidelines. They're on the court with the best teams in the country. We went from being probably the 8th or 9th best team in the best conference in the country to the 6th best conference in the country, sometimes the 5th, with, as you mentioned, the national championship game participants in our gym. So our players are just naive enough to not really understand what that means and young enough. And in some ways, I think that's healthy because they understand that we've got to grow into this, and they've maintained a pretty healthy attitude about it.
And they're gaining experience along the way for next season and seasons beyond that. Let's talk a little bit about the team. I think a lot of people know of Ariel Hearn. She played at Arlington. She's local. The rest of the team pretty much from outside the area. Give me some highs and lows so far from the players themselves, what you like that they're doing, and be more specific on individual players.
Well, obviously, Ariel's having a really good season. She now is gaining a name in the American, so she's starting to see multiple defenders. And she's going to have to work her way through that. She's got to understand when to penetrate, when to shoot it, when to set up other people. I think Mariah Rouser is starting to come into her own now after a year ago where she came off of an ACL surgery. She's gaining more strength, more confidence. She's stepped into being a really nice mid-range shooter for us. Taylor Williams, one of our freshmen, has started at the 3 and the 4, a good long-range shooter, good length, can play multiple positions, a very heady player. Our warrior, I call her, Asiana Fuquabe, who's going to do all the dirty work. She's going to guard anybody you want her to. She's going to score on the low block. She's going to score on penetration, but really just kind of our heart and soul defensively. And then our young freshman that's starting at the point, Bria Wilder-Cochran, very similar to Asia in how she approaches the game, a very workman-like approach to the game, but also I think is going to be only one of 3 freshmen in the history of Memphis basketball to finish the season as a freshman with over 100 assists.
Wow.
So, and she's a lockdown defender as well. And then I think also Pasana Hope has shown flashes at times of what we need her to be all the time. And I'm just hoping that as she ages through her senior season, that she becomes that force in the middle that we really need from her.
You've signed 5, I believe, for next year, and you got some size. That's something you lacked this year. Talk about going out and trying to get some bigger players for next season and beyond.
It's critical. We've all seen the size in the American Athletic Conference this year. So we've got a 6'4" and another big 6'3" player that will be in for us as freshmen next year. Also a local product in Amber Holmes out of Overton High School that will be another point guard for us. We've been a little shy in terms of point guard play this year and the number of guards that we have. Bria Elmore coming in from Atlanta, who I think is going to remind a lot of people of Ariel Hearn. Very versatile player, can shoot the 3, can put it on the floor, can play some point. And then Dominique Miller comes to us from the state of Arkansas, going to be another lockdown defender and a great lane runner. So it's important that we're still going to be young, but our young this year will have a little more experience. There'll be more now a sophomore, junior class, and then we bring in another very good crop of freshmen. And we're also still on the recruiting trail. It's not, we could still recruit another junior college player or 2 probably to add to our team and be on the floor next year.
Part of the sell of Memphis women's basketball is obviously the conference you play in and the facilities, split in time, most of the time at El Marone, but of course playing at FedEx Forum. And then this is just part of your beautiful facilities here at El Marone. So talk about that and how you try to bring these young ladies in and win them over with facilities and, again, the schedule that you guys play.
Over the course of the last 3 years, we've really added to our facilities. As you mentioned, playing at the Forum, we think that's a huge step, and we need to continue to work on that relationship and get more games down there. But we've also completely upgraded our locker room. Our training complex, I believe, is second to none. We've got a beautiful weight room, a beautiful training facility downstairs to care for our athletes, and that's critically important. We're going against some of the best facilities in the nation, and just to mention a Louisville, even an SMU that just completely redid Moody Coliseum. USF has a brand new, renovated facility. So I always say players are just like we are. We all like bright, shiny cars, right? We all like bright, shiny cars, and these players are no different. In order to compete, we've got to have some facilities that sell the commitment that the University of Memphis makes to our program.
You have to at least keep up with the Joneses, if not go beyond that.
Without question. And we're playing catch up right now. So facilities continue to be a major emphasis for us. And in some ways, it's difficult to make changes. Our men are contracted to play at the Forum. There's not another facility for us right now. But we've got to be ever aware that that is important in our recruiting.
What do you think about the talent in the Memphis area? We talk all the time about boys basketball, high school basketball, and what about girls high school basketball in Memphis? And number two, what is your sell to them to try to bring them here?
Girls high school basketball in Memphis, we have some very elite level players, and we have had, I don't know that we have the depth in the recruiting classes year in and year out that the men have, but over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see us recruit some Memphis players very, very hard. And of course, Amber Holmes this year, we've on occasion lost a very high level player to a very high level program somewhere else nationally. It's going to be important that at some point in time we've got to keep those elite players here. And I think Memphis has to help us put our arms around those players and tell them how much we want them to remain here. We've got an opportunity to make a splash on a national level in the new American Athletic Conference, and going forward, how many games have we been on ESPNU or ESPN3 this year? Our players are going to get national exposure, and the players right here from Memphis has to understand that making the University of Memphis great at times is we're going to be relying on those players to help us do that.
How did the rule change in the NCAA, being able to work with these young ladies for a few hours during the summer, how has that affected the team?
I think it's been great, particularly for the young players, to have them in the gym 2 hours a week. It's no more than that. It's 2 hours a week in the gym, so it's not a lot. But in order to be able to get their bodies ready with 6 additional hours in the weight room with our strength and conditioning coach. But we've got to manage that well. Those are 8 hours a week in the gym that a young mind may not be able to handle. As great as it sounds, now our season goes from June to the end of March, whereas it used to go from September to the end of March.
And it's probably culture shock for a freshman coming in. All of a sudden now all these hours they're putting in.
That's right, because their seasons only used to be 3 or 4 months long. So for you, it would be like covering a basketball season from June until the end of March. And certainly we're much older and can manage that mentally a lot better than they do, and emotionally a lot better. So it's been a great thing because it allows us to change a shot, to change shooting form, to help them understand what work habits are like in college. But I also think we've got to manage that because these are young minds and young bodies yet, and more is not always better. It's made me very aware of how uncomfortable or how the long hours affect them as we go through month after month after month. So I think it's something we've got to manage.
All right, final thing for you. What are your goals the rest of the season? Obviously, you're going to play in the conference tournament in Connecticut. We know the challenge of playing in that conference. What are you going to try to accomplish with your young team the rest of this campaign?
It will be the same as it was when, at the end of last season, the very last game, the next day we walked in this very room. I put all the new names on the board, and I said, our goal is to get to postseason play somehow. In order to do that, we have to have at least a 500 record and an RPI that's somewhere around 100 or 120. That is our goal. It is our goal to make some sort of postseason play. And we're right on the cusp. We've still got work to do. We're in the middle of the pack right now. We've got an opportunity with our next 3 or 4 games to play the teams that we're effectively tied with to make that happen. So that is our goal. It was a year ago. It is now. It was as recently as today when I sat and talked with the team. We've got to continue to be a postseason team and then continue to grow into that as we grow into the league. Now, we've been a WNIT team. Our goal of being an NCAA tournament team has not gone away, but we've now got to grow through being a consistent WNIT team into an NCAA team.
Always great to talk to you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. And the Tigers return to the court Sunday when they visit Temple. Also this weekend, the 24th ranked men face Gonzaga on Saturday night at 8 p.m. in a battle of top 25 teams. And much earlier in the day on Saturday, ESPN will broadcast Game Day live from FedEx Forum with coverage beginning at 9 a.m. on ESPNU and continuing on ESPN at 10. Admission is free. The show is open to the public. Doors will swing open for Game Day beginning at 6:30 a.m. One other quick note, congratulations to Grizzlies head coach Dave Yeager, who was recently named the NBA Coach of the Month for January as the Grizzlies finished 12-3. And that'll do it for now. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.